The Global Review's credit card DSE review webinar. Thank you very much for taking the time to dial in this morning. My name is Rebecca Jennings, and I'm a senior Global Review's credit card DSE webinar today. My name is Rebecca Jennings. I'm a Principal Client Advisor at Global Reviews. I've been at Global Reviews for about 3.5 years now. Previously to that, I was a Principal Analyst at Forrester Research, specializing in media marketing and customer experience for 10 years. Global Reviews themselves have been helping clients optimize their online journeys and maximize their marketing investments for some 15 years now across the UK, Europe and Australia, and across a number of industries. What we're going to talk about particularly today, of course, is some very recent credit card industry research that was conducted in the UK in January. Now, the piece we're going to talk about today looks specifically at the sales effectiveness research that we do. It's the digital sales effectiveness research we're going to talk about today. Now, that looks at how effective credit card websites are at a number of things. Firstly, from first steps, drawing consumers in from the home page or the landing page. How effectively does the brand engage with consumers, help them find the products and services the brand has got, help them find a product and service that suits their needs, so they're not just presented with a whole load of products that they then have to filter through themselves. It actually helps to make that decision. Obviously, there's a fine line between giving financial advice. We understand that, but obviously there's an awful lot that sites can do to help consumers navigate to the right types of products that suit their needs. So then, once the consumer has hopefully found a product that suits their needs, we also look at how effective the site is at helping them purchase or apply for that card from the point where they decide which channel they're going to apply for. Do they want to do it online? Do they want to do it on the phone? What are the advantages of doing it online? Quicker, easier, safer, secure, etc. And then through to the application form itself. So that's what we're going to concentrate on this piece of work today, and this webinar this morning. We're going to look at the January results for the digital sales effectiveness research taking place on credit cards in the UK. A couple of things I should mention here. You see this sort of 5 circles here. We also within Global Reviews do research on the marketing effectiveness piece of this customer journey, so the discover phase. That phase where consumers are saying, well, actually, I want a new credit card, I want to change the credit card I've got, the free interest rate on the one I've got is up to expire, so I'd like to get a new one. And then we look at how they make those research decisions. What do they do when they go online to look for a new credit card? What sites do they go to? What search terms do they use? What search terms convert most effectively when it comes to discovering brands, but then also making a short list of brands to research in more depth, and then making a final decision. How does that shortlist come into life? What do they do, and what do they do on the process? So that is another piece of research that we look at, and we're going to look at sales effectiveness today. And as I say, we're going to look at credit cards. This is part of a wider plan of research that we run. We run credit cards, current accounts, personal loans, mortgages, just in the financial services, also home insurance, car insurance, energy, sports betting. So there's a lot of industries that we also look at, but also help us understand best practice as you go through, not just looking at best practice in this industry, but also best practice across a number of industries, because obviously it may be the case that actually somebody in another industry is doing something particularly well, and actually they're the best person to look at for, say, a comparison tool. So that's really what we're going to look at for the next half hour or so. I'm going to try and give you a flavour of the insight into this research that was just conducted in January. So I say it's conducted in January. This is an ongoing project of work, an ongoing program that runs every 6 months. The DSEs for all the industries we work on are run on a 6-monthly basis, so we have a constant track of how the industry is performing. So what we have here is the results from the January study put against the results from the Q3 study last year, so we can see from those period of time what's changed, what's increased, what's decreased. You'll see as we've got here, we've got an overall score. The DSE itself is made up of several hundred data points. It's a combination of data from a best practice audit that we at Global Reviews conduct, which has around 350 individual yes-no criteria across those consider and act phases across the entire journey. It's also combined with data from consumers actually doing tasks on site. We recruit consumers for each site, a different set of consumers for each brand you see here, and it's up to 50 consumers per brand are asked to go and conduct a number of very specific tasks on site, so find particular pieces of information, find particular products. We also ask their opinion about the site at each stage, so does the landing page and the home page make you trust the brand, for example, all the way through to asking them to fill in the application form as far as they can. So the DSE actually combines both the data from the best practice audit with that real voice of customer, consumers going through tasks. So we have success and failure at the task, we have what they think of the process, we have what they think are the most important features and functions that they would require with the site. So it's combining those two sets of data at every stage. Obviously, as I said, the journey is then split down into a number of stages, and we'll talk a little bit more about that the next slide. But all that data rolls up to create one overall score for the site. We would generally say a score of about 55 was okay. It's site was just about doing what it needs to do. So what we need to see here immediately, without going through every piece of data individually, is that firstly, generally speaking, the sites don't do that well within credit cards. A lot of the sites here are scoring only just around 55 or even less, in fact, in most cases. So there's a lot of opportunity here to increase experience, improve the experience that consumers are having. We've got a couple of brands, Santander and Lloyds, busting that 55, but even then not by much. There's also a bit of a gap between the bottom and the top here. You've got Santander achieving 55 in the latest research 58 in the latest research we've conducted, through to MBNA at 46. There's quite a gap there. So Santander have got a bit of a lead in this market. But having said that, as we go through some of the key pains, I think hopefully it'll be obvious that actually it shouldn't be too hard for some of those brands at around 46, 47, 48 to drag that score up by several percentage points, even in the next sort of 6 months through to the next wave of research. There are a lot of things that are missing that actually hopefully are fairly easy to fix, just improve that journey for the consumers through from the landing page all the way through to the application form. So there we are at the moment. That's the overall scores we have. What's actually most interesting, and I'm sure you'll agree, is actually what comes to make up that score. The score itself is interesting, but actually it gets much more interesting when we start to look at things like this industry pains slide. So this is, again, not intended to look at every single piece of data individually, but it's just to give you an idea, for example, that there are industry pains within the credit card market as a whole. It's not the case that that one brand is doing terribly well across every piece, but it's definitely the case there are areas where all brands are doing badly. I've highlighted, for example, Tesco's here. You can see the range of scores that we see across the brands here. You've got, for example, Halifax and MBNA, in fact, here is the red one. So you can see the score goes from around 53, 54 in initial engagement, drops down to introducing options, and then back up again through the application form. So even if you pick one of the brands out of here, you get a very wide range of scores across the customer journey. So every brand in this market is experiencing something similar, and every brand has opportunities to improve at each stage, even those who are scoring particularly well at particular points. We don't have one brand doing really well across this. Obviously, you'll see here, I say there's some key pain points that are coming out of this for the industry. For example, you've got facilitating decisions is one of the key ones here, just doing very badly. So the lowest average score, and that's the piece where consumers are looking to really be pushed over the final line to decide to make this application. They've found a product that suits their needs, but probably they've found 2 or 3 across the industry, and they're thinking, well, why am I applying for yours particularly? And the facilitating decisions piece is looking at, well, how do you help them solve problems? If they've got a question at this point, can they reach easy support online and offline? And do you have any information on the site as to why the company would is unique? What is the best practice? What is the proposition for the company? And why, as a consumer, am I choosing you? So what is it about you that makes you different? And generally speaking, we find brands do that very poorly, and that's not just in credit cards, that's actually across all the industries we look at. Also, one of the key pain points here is evaluating options. This is the piece where consumers are really trying to be reassured you've got a product that suits their needs specifically. So introducing options helps them see what you've got. Evaluating options, well, actually, I can see the range. What is it that suits my needs particularly? Am I likely to actually get it if I apply for it? Really, as a consumer, why am I finding a product from you, and what is it about my needs that you are satisfying? So it's taking that next step down the line from just showing people the products and really coming away thinking, okay, I'm convinced as a consumer that you've got something that suits my needs. And we've found that actually a lot of brands in this market are really not meeting consumers' needs at this point. They're not helping consumers understand perhaps which card is suited to which kind of spender, for example, and the consumers are finding it really hard to find fees and charges at this point. So let's have a little look at, for example, some of the ranges in scores we're seeing at each of those steps. I said a moment ago I just highlighted MBNA just out of interest to show you the range of scores we get at each step. Now it would be interesting to see the flip side of that, the fact that actually there isn't one brand doing exceptionally well at each step. It's not the case that even though Santander are getting the highest score overall, they're certainly not hitting the highest score at each one of these steps, which I think is also interesting and shows, again, that there's a lot of opportunity for brands to slightly increase their score at each step. It's not the case that you have to invest a huge amount of money to go up at every single step here. You can start to incrementally improve that experience. So, for example, you've got Lloyds Bank getting 70% introducing options, and the lowest there is 47. There's really quite a gap there, and I expect there's something that could definitely be learnt there from the brands that are at the top there. 70% is a pretty good score. Equally, on the other end of the scale, you've got the application form, 74% from Amex. Amex particularly good at support and help, and we'll see that a little bit later, but they're particularly good at embedding support and help through the application form, holding consumers' hands through it to encourage them to actually finish it and finish it in one setting. And obviously you've got the flip side of the coin there, 48% nationwide. But as I said, this is just to show that there isn't the case this one brand really hitting the high scores all the way across this this industry. So that's absolutely not the case. You've got different brands doing different pieces. So there's a lot of opportunity here, as well as the key industry pain. There's a lot of opportunity for each of these brands within this DSC from January. So let's take again another step forward into the data. Let's look at some of those pains around evaluating options. As I say, we ask consumers to do a number of tasks within the DSC, one of which is go and find a particular product that has particular features. It might be a low interest rate for a year. It might be no fee plus particular product attributes, so points or something. Obviously, it will differ slightly depending on the brand. We make sure the brand has a card that meets these needs. Obviously, we're not trying to get consumers to find something that a brand doesn't have. So the specific task will change a little bit depending upon the brand. But it's all about how easy is it for consumers to find specifics about a card and find one that, say, suits their needs particularly. And as you can see here from the success rate, our consumers, generally speaking, were not particularly very successful in being able to find that detail. Only around 56–57% of them on average could find the detail. And also, they're not very happy and not very confident about the process. Even those who found the right product, only 50% said they were confident. So actually, even those who managed to find the product in the end were not really sure they'd managed to. They were still thinking, well, I'm not quite sure I found the right one here. So it's making it difficult to find that detail, but also difficult to compare and difficult to understand that you found the right one rather than just one out of a selection, which obviously bleeds into the satisfaction. So pretty low satisfaction in terms of this task. And some of the voice of customer illustrates some of the reasons for that. As I say, at each step of this process is a combination of best practice audit questions, which are yes/no questions conducted by the global reviews analysts, and also then, as I say, consumers' insight tasks, but a lot of voice of customer as well. So see some of the voice of customer coming out across the industry here. So things like too much repeated irrelevant information, people have been overwhelmed by the data, too many choices that all look the same. You find there are various number of comments about imagery. Imagery for each card was the same, didn't help people visually tell the difference between them. Not sure what I should be looking at, how long would it take? So consumers thinking, gosh, this is complicated, it's going to take too long. I can't find the interest rates and fees that actually matter. There's just too much clutter. And I think there must be a catch. This is a financial services product. If people are overwhelmed with information, overwhelmed with data, their natural reaction is to think you're trying to hide something. There's too much going on. There must be a catch. So our consumers struggling to find this information and actually not very happy with the process when they found it. So, for example, some of the comments we've got around things like Bank of Scotland, people saying there's too much information here. They couldn't differentiate between these cards particularly well. Everything seemed to look very similar. It was very hard for them to actually say, well, which one of these really suits my needs without reading every single piece of this small data, what felt like very small print to them. So their natural reaction was just to go away and do something else, do the research somewhere else. And similarly, for quite different reasons than the Amex piece, again, people felt there was an awful lot of small print here. It didn't really highlight what they actually wanted to know here, things like the interest rate, things like fees. They found difficult that the information is there, but it's difficult to see, and it just gets lost in an awful lot of other information that people weren't particularly interested in. We actually found people found this tab-based navigation easier to find a specific type of card, which is used by a couple of brands in the market already. So it might just be, let's look at everything. Okay, I don't really know what I want, let's look at everything. But it could be, yeah, I do want to know I want to make a big balance transfer. Let's just look at the cards that are good for balance transfer. Let's look at ones that focus on a low rate. So I just want to fix in a low rate for a while. So consumers actually found this tabular system much more intuitive to help them take that next step through, let's weed out the cards I'm not interested in, let's look at the ones that I am. They also liked having images of the card, which helps to break up the chunks of text. Ideally, the card imagery would reflect that particular card. That was another issue that came up. They all cards look the same, but the imagery does help as well. It helps breaks up this large chunks of text. And Barclaycard actually take again another step and helps consumers to compare cards side by side. Again, consumers find it easier to compare things if they're down, stripped like this in a sort of vertical fashion rather than look to compare things side by side. They find it easier if it's done this sort of vertical way. And what also you can do here is you can select them once you want to compare and take them out. So if you're something, oh, I've got 3 here, actually that one's not interesting, let's get rid of it. So consumers actually found it easier to compare cards here and to pick out the key features that they were really interested in. Also, coming into this piece, I mentioned earlier is this element of, well, actually, is this a waste of my time? I found a product, but I'm not sure it really suits my needs. I want to make sure it really, I'm likely to get it before I go through the whole application process. So features and functions like a quick eligibility check are very popular. So this is something that Capital One do, and enable you to do a quick check to see if you'll get this card before you actually go through the full application, and it won't check your credit score. So if you're a bit worried about checking for a few cards, this is reassuring. Just ask you a few questions and it gives you an idea, indicative idea of whether you'd get the card. Also, what you'll see here is a few elements of helping consumers understand whether they're likely to get the card. So we're more likely to accept you if you're over 18 on the electoral roll, for example, not likely to accept you if these things are true. Also got that encouragement to do it online. Just a minute, apply, and you'll get a response in 60 seconds. So again, really important, something we get a lot is consumers saying, well, I don't know how long this is going to take. Do I need to set aside 5 minutes, 20 minutes? I'm not going to do it now because I'm not sure. So reassurance that it's quick and easy, and just telling consumers, setting expectations how long it will actually take. So that's a few things there that Capital One are particularly doing in order to support consumers making that next decision, to encourage them to go on to make that application. And something else that we find that really helps consumers is online tools and calculators to help them make those considered decisions. Don't make them do these themselves. Anything you can do to support that decision. As I say, we understand it's a difficult line sometimes between giving us financial advice, but calculators are a great tool in that because they help consumers make their own decisions, but they are a really useful tool to help them do something they would probably find very hard to do themselves, or on a calculator, or writing down. So it's really helping consumers make that decision and help them make intelligent decisions for themselves. So you've got Asda Money with a very simple concept here, and you've got the Santander credit card here. At the top, it's encouraging you and showing you reasons why you would have the card, and then you've got the balance transfer calculator, which is help calculate how much you could save by swapping to this particular card. So really helping consumers make those decisions for themselves. And as I say, not giving advice, but giving them the tools to make them or help them make considered decisions. So that's looking a little bit at the evaluating options piece, and as you can see, that's a key pain here. The highest score getting 55 for Barclaycard, but actually on average it's quite a lot lower than that. So that's a key pain. That's a pain where consumers have discovered the products, but actually don't necessarily feel confident about making the next step to decide which one they actually want to apply to, because they haven't been given the tools and the information and the features to help them do that. The second piece I want to look at today is really across the sort of facilitating decisions and channel selection piece here, to look at some of the issues that are being caused by lack of communication features and lack of help and support and explanations of the different channels, because those again are real pain points here, and they cause a break point between consumers deciding you've got a great product that really suits their needs and then actually getting to the application form and filling it in. There's a big break point here where brands make it really hard for consumers to reach out for support and help and just solve those problems. So here we have on the left-hand side, as you look at it, a little bit of data from the DME, which I referred to earlier, the marketing effectiveness piece we do. We ask consumers, well, how do you make decisions when you're doing research on trying to find a new brand? And one thing we ask them is, well, if you've had problems on a website, what would you do? And we found that 29% would immediately look for the frequent asked questions or help. So it's really important that this is linked wherever relevant through the site. And ideally, it needs to be linked to contextual help, not the general help pages where consumers just have to go and find the answer to their questions themselves. They have to actually put in a lot of work to find the answer. Contextual help for that particular page that they're on. 15% would actually look for an online web chat feature. This is growing in importance, and again, it's where consumers are trying to make an immediate decision and they want support and they just want somebody to help them through a final pain point. So it's increasingly important, as well as important telephone numbers remain important. Telephone numbers with phone numbers with opening hours. Tell consumers when you're going to be there. Consumers get very annoyed with a phone number and they ring it and they get an out of office, we're not open till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning message. But what's also interesting here is 15% would just leave and look for another provider. They wouldn't just persevere and carry on and try and solve the problem. 15% would actually go, no, it's too hard, I'm not that interested, I'm going to go somewhere else. So really important to support consumers throughout the journey and give them really quick and easy access to help and support. So, and what we find actually that's very poorly done in many cases. Scores for contacting a company very low, all below 15%. Pretty poor scores at this point for why choose this company as well. So explicit content about what it is that makes you different as a brand. We have some standout examples here that do it better than that. The likes of Tesco. We've got some good examples from Amex and from Nationwide actually as well. Nationwide done a lot of work on this. But generally speaking, as an industry, it's pretty bad at shouting about how fantastic the particular brand is, but also internal and external validation. Do you have any voice of customer? Do you have any reviews? Do you have any awards that say how great you are? So content in the company very poor. External comparison, helping consumers actually understand what the differences are, very poor. And I say, why choose this company? And that sort of moves into the next piece, which is about actually encouraging people to do that application online, explaining why it's quick and easy, but also supporting their choice to perhaps do it across another channel. Back into this, have you got phone numbers? Do they have opening hours? Do they have information about how you would do the application across other channels? Because we still find that a quarter of consumers would prefer to apply across another channel. Be that be just picking up a phone or printing out the form, could be either, but they still would rather not complete the application online. And so there are a couple of approaches to this. Firstly, you can also encourage consumers to do it online by trying to address what some of their fears might be. So again, telling them how long it's going to take. It's not going to take 20 minutes, it's going to take 2 or 3. You'll get an immediate answer. The card will be in your hands in 3 days, 2 days, whatever it happens to be. It's safe and secure and private. You won't start getting any spam. So really reassuring consumers that those issues as to why they might not be wanting to do it online. So that's really important. But also supporting that 25% who still might just want to reach out across another channel, so offering them those alternative channels and explaining how to use the alternative channels. So it's things like when you get to the stage of actually showing interest in an application, really supporting consumers in showing them the other application options, but supporting them in their online choice as well, and really reassuring them. For example, can we save the application part way and return to it if I have an issue, if the baby cries, the phone rings, am I just going to lose it all? That's just really annoying. What happens next? How long does the card take? Where is the FAQ? Where is the help? Often you find FAQ and help linked on product pages, but that completely disappears when you get into looking at the application forms and looking at the application preparation pages. So really important that those continue all the way through the journey. As we're saying, what are the advantages of applying online? Safe, quick, really reassure users. Does the form have a time limit? Will it time out? Can I print it off and send it to you? So helping consumers understand what's about to happen in the online process, but also supporting them in their offline choices as well. So for example, you've got a couple of examples where that is a little better done than elsewhere. So AIB here, Allied Irish, applying via internet banking, call, branch locator, live web chat. Consistently appear through the product pages. So giving consumers multiple choices for support and help through the application process. Similarly, HSBC, do you have a question? Constantly into the FAQ. Again, not particularly contextual here, but again, but still an immediate access to the FAQ. Need to speak to us with a phone number. Opening hours there, very important to say 8 AM to 10 PM, so people aren't disappointed if they ring at 10:30. And again, also here a link to branch. Obviously, not all brands will have that, but where it's possible, it needs to be there. So a little bit of example where the constant support and access to other channels is kept through the process. One of the top performers here actually is HSBC in terms of showing application options. So on the credit card, how would you like to apply? This again is tabular-based navigation. Apply online, great. If you're registered for online banking, so how long it's going to take? So 10 minutes, 6 easy steps, fully encrypted, supporting consumers if they're a little bit nervous about it, but then also apply by phone, phone numbers, opening hours, apply in branch, book your appointment, and also what you'll need to bring. So really reducing the risk of consumers turning up and saying, well, okay, you didn't tell me I needed all this stuff, I can't do it now, it's a wasted appointment. So helping consumers at each stage, giving them options and helping them understand how it's going to work and what they're going to need and how long it's going to take. So good access to multiple channels and help there from HSBC. So overall, what does this mean for you as a credit card brand? Well, it means, generally speaking, credit card brands are not supporting consumers sufficiently well in finding products, choosing a product that suits their needs, and making a final decision to go with you. 24% of the consumers in our study actually found that the sites required more effort than they expected. And actually, to be honest, their expectations of effort are quite low anyway in this market, and actually in financial services as a whole. So really, you've got a quarter of your industry, a quarter of consumers turning around and saying, actually, that's just too much effort immediately. So cards are confusing and require too much effort right now. However, hopefully some of the examples we've shown have shown that small changes can bring big rewards, both in terms of consumer satisfaction and increasing the score here for the DSE. Things like phone numbers with opening hours at all relevant points, dropping in why choose you at key decision points. What is it that makes you different? Internal and external validation, so service levels, phone answering times, but also external validation, awards, voice of customer. And also things like simple tabular navigation and imagery to break up those big blocks of text, which just make people think this is too hard, it's too confusing, I just can't find the product that suits my needs. And that's ultimately what you need them to be able to do. They need them to be able to come away. Yeah, you helped me, I found a product that suits my needs, I applied for it really quickly and easily, and it will be with me in 2 or 3 days. You want to come across, come away from the process feeling happy. So hopefully that was an interesting, fairly brief whistle-stop tour through the Q1 credit cards DSE data. As I said earlier, we run a lot of this kind of research on a 6-monthly basis. So we've got coming up in July, we'll run the credit cards again, but before that we've got savings, mortgages, current accounts, personal loans, all happening in the UK markets, also across Ireland and Australia, but we're specifically talking the credit cards, the UK market. We've also got the DME, the marketing research going on a regular basis as well, looking at qualified consumers in the market to make these decisions. So how do they find brands in the market? So the beginning of that decision tree or decision process is ongoing on a regular basis as well. So thank you very much for listening. The Twitter handle there at Global Reviews is regularly updated with nuggets of information from the studies that you've seen going on. So do please link in with us if that's something interesting for you to see. There's a lot of a lot of nuggets of data that goes up there. Similarly with the blog, there are constantly pieces being published to the blog, which give you an insight into the syndicated research that's going on. There's particularly this week here in February a lot of credit card related and financial services related information going up there, so please do keep an eye on that. And all our webinars are put onto our Facebook page at Global Reviews Media. There's normally a webinar most weeks, so if this has been interesting, please do take a look over there and see what else we've been doing and what we'll be up to over the next few weeks. So thank you very much for your time. I'm Rebecca Jennings, at rebecca.jennings@globalreviews.com if you want to reach out to me, and thank you very much for your time.